Fell on the side of Minora. I think it's his ideal trip. We know he handles the festival environment. I admit it's taken a while for the penny to drop over fences. I think it has dropped now. He's much better jumper over that slightly longer trip than he was at shorter. His record at 19 furlongs to 21 furlongs, so roughly about the trip of the Ryanair, is first, second, first. He has 3 wins at Cheltenham, a 5th, 4th and a 3rd. 5th in the Champion Hurdle. The 3rd was in the Arco last year, which wasn't too bad a run. Pretty much had no chance against Sprinter Sacre. If you're running on heavy soft ground this season, he handles it but not as well. I think if it comes up good to soft, he has 6 wins on good to soft. His 2 best chase RPR figures have been over 20 and 21 furlongs. He's pretty much unfun. I think people don't like the horse. He's probably going to be overlooked slightly in the betting. He, returning within 5 weeks of his last start, encompasses 6 of his career wins, 2 seconds, a 4th and a fell. The only minor worry I would have about him is he hasn't won a chase at the track. But I think he's only run once, and that was behind Sprinter Sacre. I cannot get Finian's Rainbow. I can't shake him out of my calculations, even though he's had 2 shocking runs and they've been bloody awful runs. Is the ground a legitimate excuse? Yeah, it is a legitimate excuse. He had a breathing up between that 2 runs. Might have been an excuse last time out. I don't really like making excuses for horses, if I'm honest, but he does look a horse that needs better ground. If that is the case, he's going to be a huge price come the day. I personally have no doubt that he stays the trip. I don't think the trip is an issue whatsoever. If it comes up good, I think he's a fantastic bet. His record over fences on good is 2nd, and then 4 wins, only defeat being 2nd in the Arkle chase. Trounced his rivals in the Melon chase at Aintree last season over 2 mile 4 on good grounds. Providing we get no serious cut on the ground, I just cannot shake Finian's Rainbow from my calculations. So Minora and Finian's Rainbow, 2 potentially slightly unfancied. I think 16 to 1 and 10 to 1. So yeah, I think it might come from out with the top 3. I don't like sizing Europe for this race. I think Finian's Rainbow will be better for further, and Q Card, he's got every right to be favourite, but for me, he's not for me.
Thanks, Ben. Lorne, quite a lot of chats about Q Card. There seems to be several pundits that are very much in Q Card's favour, the class horse, but those that are against him sort of concerned that in a race, tough race of his nature, he can dominate from the front. Would that be a concern of yours?
I think he's a very good horse. He's the horse that everyone's looking at. I mean, he won the bumper in 2010. He won the Arkle in 2012. He's really he's done very little wrong this year, but I don't know if we can say that he's not sorry, the horse that you sort of thought he was. I think there are other horses that we haven't mentioned so far. Riverside Theatre, Champion Court. I'm not a Minora fan, despite all your particularly good argument. I'm still not a Minora fan.
I don't think a lot of people are, which I'm quite happy about, but I can see why people are not a fan.
Yeah, no, I
She understood it as well.
I know.
did German A-levels.
I gave myself a slap at the break and I seemed proud of it.
Freedom. We all need a bit of that.
That's not me. So yes, I would go for Q Card over Minora.
Catherine?
I'm with Size in Europe. He's an Arkle winner. He's a Queen Mother Champion Chase winner. I think he needs every inch now of 2 mile 5, but his class is still entitling him to win over 2 miles. Opened up the season, beautiful win over 2 mile 4.5, I think, in Clonmel. I really hope they go down the Ryanair route with him, because as much as I love Size in Europe, he can't beat Sprinter Sacre this year. Don't forget, this horse would have won a Champion Hurdle if he hadn't have gone wrong. He was absolutely tanking down the hill that year. If Sizing Europe doesn't go in this race, and First Lieutenant defects from the Gold Cup to the Ryanair, which is obviously all the rage saying that Mouse Morris is going to do that, then it would be First Lieutenant for me, but size in Europe.
On the face of it, it's a competitive race. Is it an open race for you, Rory?
Yeah, it's obviously open, especially given we're not entirely sure who's going to line up. And as Catherine said, both Sizing Europe and First Lieutenant are fascinating contenders who may go elsewhere. One may go Champion Chase, one may go Gold Cup. If Sizing Europe lines up, I think he wins. I think he'd be a reasonably short price favourite to do so. I hope he doesn't. It would make the race easy for him if he turned up, because he's the only one I'd want to back. But I think he makes the Champion Chase if he runs in it. I don't want to see horses ducking Sprinter Sacre in that race. I think if decent horses take him on, we will see a fantastic performance from him. So that's why I want to see Sizing Europe in the Champion. But if he runs in this, he's got a massive chance. I love Q Card, but the only way Joe can ride him is from the front. I don't think Q Card needs to go from the front, but I think Joe does, and that's a big issue for me. And I can see him making a big mistake at some stage in the race. I think his jumping is generally fine. When he won at Exeter early in the season, he was fantastic, and Joe just let him stride on and attack his fences. He didn't do that at Ascot last time. Joe was constantly asking him for a short one. It doesn't suit either horse or jockey doing that, and I'd love to see him just, abandon that kind of policy and really go for it. Of the others, there are a lot of horses who've got two ways of running in this race. The one horse who everyone was really keen on a month or so ago, who's suddenly gone very quiet, is Champion Court. Huge run at the festival last season, huge run in the King George until the stamina ran out, and then because he ran an egg and spoon race at Kempton last time out, everyone's forgotten about him. I think Cheltenham brings out the best in him. The distance is perfect for him. I think he'd go well at a decent price.
Is he really like grade 1 animal though?
Not in sort of Champion Chase level, but the way the Ryanair pans out at this stage, then yes.
Tony, Q Card from the front for you?
I've got Q Card down as my better in my selection. I can't have Sizing Europe. I don't think he's not getting any younger. He's brilliant round Cheltenham, but something younger, more improving. I'll get him. Agree with Rory about Champion Court. He ran a blinder in the King George, and you can't discount him from anything. And at 9-1, Luke's offering 11s, I think. Is that right, Luke?
12s, I think.
I'm pretty sure First Lieutenant. Unfortunately, everyone's up. I don't think Michael O'Leary's going to have 2 in the Gold Cup. I don't think there's any chance of that. And he's certainly not going to have an unfancied runner in his own race. So I'm pretty sure First Lieutenant will go here, and I've got him down for a place. I love the First Lieutenant. I think he wouldn't be out the first 3 in the Gold Cup, but I don't think he'll go for the Gold Cup. He'll be running in this. And Q Card, brilliant in the Halden Gold Cup, and he goes well fresh, and he's a fresh horse that goes really well. And the Q Card is probably one of my favourites at the festival.
Nick, is this a betting race for you?
No, not at the moment, because there's just too many unknowns about it. Sizing Europe probably should go for this race, but probably won't. I'm led to believe that Henry's Brom is leaning towards the Champion Chase. First Lieutenant might well go for this race. I know Mouse Morris, I think, wants to run him in the Gold Cup, so I think that's a tug of war between him and Gigginstown again. Q Card, I think, needs to dominate. I think he's great in small fields, as we saw at Exeter early in the season, but he's not going to get an easy time on the front end during this. Riverside Theatre, he's on the comeback trail. He could do Champion Courts, not for me. Minora, never know what to expect from that horse. He runs well when I don't expect him to, and when you think you half fancy him, he throws in the stinker. It's all or nothing with him. Mouse Morris is a very interesting trainer in this race for me because he's got First Lieutenant, but he's got another horse called China Rock, and I think he's got it arse about face. He should be running China Rock in this race because he doesn't stay in the Gold Cup. He's tried it twice before, finished 8th last season, really good run. China Rock could be a massive price at 20-1 if he lets him go in this 2 mile 5. He's a Grade 1 winner at Punchestown last season. I really, really hope that he does not go for the Gold Cup again because he can't win that. First Lieutenant Mouse really, really wants to run him in the Gold Cup, I think. Don't quite know what's going to happen there. Gigginstown will probably get their own way, but China Rock for me for 20-1. Q Card, small fields, Exeter, Halden Gold Cup, brilliant. Not sure about him in this race where there's going to be loads of competition and nobody's going to give him an easy time on the front.
Lots of question marks in the Ryanair, as Nick's pointed out there. Is it a puzzling race for you, Mark, or have you got a fancy contender?
It's wide open. It's very hard to make your
make your choice here. I think Q Card, I wouldn't have him at 10 to 1. I think his jumping, once he loses any sort of momentum, it's very hard to find a rhythm again with him. And we've seen that in King George, and you know, I think if he, especially around Cheltenham, it's all, and in the Ryanair, as we've seen in previous years, Alberta's run, you know, it's all about getting the momentum, the rhythm, the flow of the race. And I think if Q Card makes a mistake, it can go wrong for him, and he'll find it very hard to get back into it. First Lieutenant, I'd love to see him go for this. I heard today that Mouse Morris is 50-50 but Gold Cup or Ryanair, which tells us absolutely nothing, totally frustrating. And Size in Europe, I'm led to believe he's going Queen Mother, and looking at the market still, like going down through it, Grand Cru is World Hurdle bound, and Finian's Rainbow is Champion Chase, I think, with Mackay on board, I'm told. But Riverside Theatre, all his wins have come on good ground bar one. And that's one thing that he's come into this race very, very quiet this year. Garrity gave him, I think, one of the best rides of last year's festival to get him home. I don't know how he did it, but I think he's coming here like 7 to 1 isn't bad value coming into it for a horse. If the ground comes up anyway sort of good, he'd be my fancy. If not, First Lieutenant if he turns up.
Q Card for you, Tommy?
I like Q Card a lot, but I still have just question marks about him at the moment. I think he's definitely a classy horse. He obviously showed what he can do around Cheltenham and that. You know, really, like, you know, if this First Lieutenant runs in it, you got to really fancy him big time, or even Size in Europe. But you know, it's a wide open race. This is a real head scratcher. I think of all the racing that's going on in Cheltenham. I think this is going to be, because, as Mark says, everybody's going here, there, thinking doing this and that and the other. One horse, you know, if you have your few quid on and you know he'll put heart in his sleeve and everything and try his hardest for is Alberta's run. Like, he's an absolute course specialist around there. He absolutely loves the place. He goes around, him, Mackay are like, you know, Adam and Eve. Obviously, you have the top 4 or 5 horses. Champion Court, yeah, you know what I mean. He ran a blinder in the King George. He's kind of had a hard race in the King George. It can take a lot out of a horse. And I know that race that he ran in the other day, it was an egg and spoon race, as it was said, but you know, he was a bloody tired horse throughout, like, you know what I mean. He was absolutely walking, and to be running on that sort of ground and on that trip that you're unknown about can take a lot out of a horse. Yeah, you know what I mean. If Size in Europe or First Lieutenant, I think those are 2 ones to be definitely having the battle at the end. And you know, for a good each way, and if I look at things at 16 to 1, you know, you can't go wrong with Alberta's run either, like, you know.
Anything leap off the page for you, Steve?
Well, like these guys have said, if it's a head scratcher, I think you want to go look a bit further down. I think Q Card is very solid, but he wasn't sure to beat Captain Chris last time, when that one made a mistake in the closing stages. First Lieutenant, not quick enough. Size in Europe, too old. Riverside Theatre, out of form. Menora, his jumping's got better, but it's not great, is it? 4 non-stop, 18 to 1. I don't think you can go wrong. With his form, it's tied in a bit with Captain Chris, so it ties in with a few of the others. And he's not that far off him. 18 to 1, I think, is way too big for a horse that's also run well at Cheltenham. It's sporting odds, I think you've got, well, not sporting odds, Starbet, sorry. A sporting bet is 18 to 1, he's too big at 18 to 1. And Tommy was saying these egg and spoon races, well, they're bloody hard to keep the egg on the spoon, so I think they're alright, those races.
It's a grade 1, Luke, but I would imagine, given the uncertainty, it's not the strongest betting race.
What I would say is this race is why jump racing is so much better than flat racing. We've got 8 previous festival winners on the board. That's why we love it. You get to come back and be part of these horses. You get to see them year in, year out. And,
cue applause.
as you can see, I'm a great flat man. But just looking down at Size in Europe's going to go for the Queen Mother. So I wouldn't be backing Size in Europe. That goes to the Queen Mother. First Lieutenant, if you read your Racing Post or any racing blogs, anything like that, you'll see that there's a big story every day about First Lieutenant wanting to go in the Gold Cup. That's because Mouse Morris has been told it's going in this race and he's trying to make a public campaign to get his own way. Last year there was the debacle where Sir the Shop and First Lieutenant goes. Mouse got his way last year on the proviso this year's not his turn. So First Lieutenant will go in this race. Riverside Theatre last year won the race, everything went right for it, had a wonderful prep at Ascot, got the best ride ever at Cheltenham and still only won a fag paper. Had a nightmare this year, ulcers all year, no sort of prep, terrible price at 7 to 1. Menorah, good luck, I hope you win, but it doesn't jump well enough for me. Champion Court, a worrying drifter in the market last 3 or 4 days. Grand Cru, not the same horse. For me, it's a race I can't wait to be a bookmaker in. And I hope that one of the horses that won at the festival before wins again, because then its Legion of fans will have another great day out.
There's a question I want to ask Lonnie on the back of that.
Isn't that meant for later? I didn't know.
That'll come later.
Okay.
Luke mentioned horses with ulcers, and every now and again you get trainers who will say the horse has been found to have ulcers and they're hoping that accounts for bad form. My understanding is that if you start looking for ulcers in racehorses, you'll find ulcers. Do you set any store of that?
I think it's like so many of these things, it depends on the individual. Some horses will battle through with any problems, some horses don't need any excuse to succumb. And I think it depends on the sort of horse that you've got and also the severity of the problem. If you've got a horse that has got bad ulcers, obviously there's nothing worse, something that's really uncomfortable. The last thing you want to do if you're uncomfortable and have pain in your stomach is go and gallop and jump. So to be fair, if a horse is found to have ulcers, it's a very, very good excuse as such.
But do you think there are plenty of horses out there who are running perfectly well, who have ulcers, who no one looks for?
I think there probably are, yes, but I mean obviously horses that have ulcers are usually ones that worry more or crib bite more, windsuck more. They're worriers in life, so you can see it in their mannerisms. I mean, it's come out recently, I think Finian's Rainbows had ulcers, Henderson said recently.
Grand Cru, another one.
Another one, exactly. And so, when trainers actually come out and say these things, you've got to sit up and take note, because I think one must give huge credit to Paul Nicholls these days, because he has been the main person to be so open. He's been the main trainer to be so open with the press and tell people these things. 10 years ago even, people would never have said these things. And I think really he is the main person who's gone out there and said, right, this is what's wrong with that horse, that's what's wrong with that horse. In the Martin Pipe days, this would never have happened, that people would have said these things. So I think it's, it's all due credit to Paul, who's led the way from the front, which makes it easier for other people then to admit that there are obviously problems. So, but ulcers, I would say, is a major problem, yes.
How easy is it for a horse to overcome ulcers from one run to another? Even?
You can give them steroids, but obviously you can't run them on steroids unless you're in America.
Or unless you're Lance Armstrong.
I can't comment on that, obviously. But no, if you can cure the ulcers, but you can't run them on the stuff that cures them. So
does it take a while for them to get over?
Yes, it does.
The problem, yes.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
could
definitely.
Take a run or two.
Yeah, I mean, it's like with Grand Cru, they gave him the wind up, and I thought they run him very, very quickly afterwards.
Right,
I was surprised by how quickly afterwards they ran him. That was at Kempton, where he ran fairly well, and then after that he was disappointing, wasn't he?
Yep,
and I would have said purely that would have been because they'd run him so quickly after the wind up.
Sorry to cut in, but need to get crack on with the World Hurdle.
Okay.
Thanks, Lonnie.
Simon Hunt has just tweeted Tommy suggesting that based on tonight's performance, you'd make a great darts commentator. I don't know what your views on that are. World Hurdle. Yes, obviously big bucks, 4 wins out of the last 11 winners, but it generally goes to a fancied contender. All of those 11, 8 to 1 or less. Do you think this is a trend that will continue?
Maybe.
That's not a darts commentator saying. You don't hear hear darts commentators saying maybe.
Look, I am a huge fan of Rev de Sola. I absolutely love this horse to bits.
Amen.
And does anybody agree with you? He has the right attitude, head down, grinds out. He's a tough horse to pass. Like Vega, I think herself, she'll probably, by look things, she'll probably have to go for the mayor's race, win the 5 in a row. I'll be honest with you, Oscar Whiskey, I can't have him. Everybody boasts about him, I can't have him. Not a hope. I wouldn't spend the money on my worst enemies on him. Rev de Sola would be definitely be one of my bankers of the festival, like, you know what I mean? And he's one of the toughest horses I've seen, and for a horse to win in Cheltenham, I love to be Dickie Johnson riding him now. That's the honest truth. So Rev de Sola by far, I can't see him be beaten.
And Rev de Sola and Dickie Johnson are one and the same. Tough,
yeah.
Never give up.
Lorne, you've hit the head. You've hit the nail on the head, Lorne. He's the most like when he won a NASCAR, he was absolutely brilliant.
I think they're the Adam and Eve, don't you?
Adam and Eve, yeah. But you know what I mean. And
Tommy's Adam, you're Eve.
Go for it, Tommy.
And
trust me, I'm a trainer.
I do. I always trust the trainers. Especially when I'm going out with my life in risk. No, but yeah, definitely. Rev de Sola for me. I can't see him be beaten whatsoever.
Nick, Rev de Sola, there's quite a lot of Twitter chat that he's a soft ground horse. Is that a view you hold?
No, not really. I don't think he needs soft ground particularly to show his best, and I don't think it's going to be that quick anyway, so I don't see any reason to worry on that score. It's a really open race now that Big Bucks isn't around. Q Vega's not going to go for it. I don't know what she's doing up there in the market, but yeah, she won't run. Peddler's Cross, I'm not convinced he's anywhere near the horse he used to be. I really don't. That win at Musselburgh last time I didn't think proved much at all. Got beaten in Jumper's Bumper by a horse's favourite for the Potemps, so that sums him up for me.
Jason was very positive about him after that. Donald McCain said, oh, that wasn't a great run, and Jason said, yes, it was. You really didn't see the best of him there. He was very positive.
He was, yeah. I completely agree with that. I read his comments afterwards, and you know, yeah, interesting. But I mean, yeah, no, he's not for me to cut it short. Bog Warrior on heavy ground, I think we'll have a good chance if it does turn up heavy. Solwit likewise. The one Wonderful Charm's been a bit of a buzzer in recent days because it was favourite for the Coral Cup, and now Dan Skelton says it's going to go for this race, so I imagine it will do. I've only seen him once. And he's been in France before that, so I can't really say too much about him. The one horse, he's probably short enough now, but the one horse who's interested me for this all season is Get Me Out of Here, because I think he's been dying for a crack at 3 miles. I think he stays. I think he will stay very well. I think he's bred to stay. Could actually improve for it. 1 over 2 miles 5 last year at Fairy House Grade 2, stayed on well. He's bred. He's related to Stairs, Harbour Pilot, horses like that. I think he might love this 3 miles. I can just see him loitering out the back. And coming through late. He's got a fantastic festival record, albeit he hasn't won. I still think he beat Final Approach in the County Hurdle a couple of seasons ago, but the judge got that wrong. John Joe O'Neill, every season he pulls rabbits out of the hat. He does it with Albertus Run, he'll do it with this horse. Every time he wheels him out, gets into the Cheltenham Festival March, he always produces a cracking run. Get Me Out of Here. Slightly on the short side now at 10 to 1, but I think he could run a massive race.
Disappointing, Mark, that Monksland is out. Is there anything that takes a fancy in the race now?
Rev de Sola all the way for me. He was awesome in the long walk hurdle. I've been following this horse since he won the Neptune, or second in the Neptune to Peddler's Cross back in 2010, I think it was. And I've been in contact with the owners. Like, I've met them in Cheltenham for the last couple of seasons, and I've been tracking him over fences, and he was never that fluent, and it was never going to be his game. And I was more than delighted when I saw him stepping back down to hurdles again. And when I spoke to the lads, to one of the partners in the Paul Duffy syndicate, at first the plan to start the year was to be second to Big Bucks. So this has certainly really worked out the way we wanted it to be, really. When he beat Oscar Whiskey on Trials Day in the Cleeve Hurdle, it was found out afterwards he had a hoof infection, I've heard. And I think that's to have that and to still pull off that fantastic performance shows he's a horse with real heart. He's gutsy, and I think he can be ridden both from the front, and he'll be effective if he comes late as well. And I don't think soft ground. I've heard this muck on Twitter and Facebook about that this horse won't win on soft ground. All he needs is soft ground. He's won Punchestown on good ground as a novice. He was second in the Neptune on good ground as well. There's nothing stopping this horse. I don't think he needs it. I think this is one of the best shots of the whole week. He's a great chance.
Steve?
Oscar Whiskey, to me it doesn't really matter if you think he stays or not. He's not as good over 3 miles as he is 2.5. He's only ever been beaten over hurdles either at the Cheltenham Festival or over 3 miles or both. Says it a lot for me. I think Rev de Savola is very solid. I think people have underestimated him in the fact that he's been over fences, and like Mark has said, he's not as good over fences. He doesn't jump fences all that well. So if you go back, he was second to Pedlar's Cross over hurdles at the festival in the Neptune a few years ago, which is top form. He's come back to hurdles, top 3 mile. I think he's got a very solid chance. The other one that I would give a chance to is Smad Place, who is 14 to 1. Although Alan Kings aren't running all that great, he was third last year, which is top form. If he comes back to that sort of form, he's got a good chance. But on the balance, I think Rev de Savola is the most solid, with Smad Place perhaps each road.
Very different betting shape to the race this year, Luke.
Yeah, well, we can't all get the dinner money on the favourite this year. From a punting point of view, this sums up anti-post punting for me, because my main bet was Monksland, and my biggest bet at the meeting was Wonderful Charm in the Coral Cup. So that'll clearly run in this now. Phil Smith, the senior handicapper, said to me last night that the connections of Wonderful Charm will need sectioning if they run it in this rather than the Coral Cup. So that will definitely happen. From a punting point of view, Oscar Whiskey is the best 2 mile 6 horse in the country. There's not a race for him. This isn't the race for him. Rev de Savola, everyone says how gutsy he is, but he's not classy enough for me. I can see him running a huge race, but getting run out of it by one other. There's more chance of Lawney running in this race than Quevega. It's only entered,
Don't knock it.
It's only entered in the race in case it tips up at the first in the mare's race on the Tuesday. So Pedlar's Cross, we know it's not the horse it was, nor Solwit. I can only give you one tip in this race of a horse that will go off much shorter and run a race, but is solely ground dependent. It's rumoured that Gigginstown have said that they consider their best chance of the entire week, if there's any dig in the ground, to be Bog Warrior. So if you've got a good weatherman and you expect it to be soft ground on this day, Bog Warrior will go off 5 to 1, not 10 to 1. But I think there's so many horses that you can't back in here. I couldn't recommend a bet at all.
As Luke's kind of pointed out, there are not really any improvers in the race, or can you see any potential improvers?
Well, everyone's talked a lot about the horses in it, obviously, but I can't see past Rev de Savola myself. He is so tough and so game, and that's what wins these races. You can pick at holes in all the rest of them, but I think that he's proved that he and Dickie Johnson are so tough together. I think they're a formidable, couple to go and do battle there. I really think that they're the ones to beat.
Catherine?
Echo everyone's sentiments about Rev de Savola. Obviously, I'm not going to reiterate what they've said, but one thing you have to take into account in Cheltenham is previous festival form. And even though Rev de Savola didn't sort of really have the same sort of zing over fences as he has over hurdles, he did actually finish third to Ben Salem in what is now the GLT on the Tuesday. He finished third in that in 2011. He's just, I don't get this about he doesn't go on soft ground. He goes on any ground. He was absolutely brilliant on trials day when he picked Oscar Whiskey. That Oscar Whiskey is not a true 3 miler. He is not going to win this. I love Oscar Whiskey, but Barry Geraghty gave him a beautiful ride, hanging on to every inch of him at Cheltenham, and he still didn't get 3 miles. The class of Oscar Whiskey, if he got 3 miles, he would have gone past Rev de Savola. I think the connections of Oscar Whiskey are just dreaming, and I can understand. Of course, you want to win a race at the festival, but if he was my horse, he probably wouldn't even go to Cheltenham. He would go to Aintree. But now it's Rev de Savola. The panel already think I'm a little bit cracked, so I may as well just say it. Pedlar's Cross. I fully believe that Hurricane Fly broke his heart in the 2011 Champion Hurdle. He's never been the same horse since. I was actually pleased with his run at Musselburgh. I started to see a little bit of a spark back. forever the romantic. I would love Peddler's Cross to win this race. Head over heart is Rev de Sibila.
Can you tell us, Rory, which horse is time form top rated out of Oscar Whiskey and Rev de Sibila?
Yeah, Oscar Whiskey's top rated, but of course he's top rated because he's the best 2.5 miler in the country. And while you couldn't say he didn't stay 3 miles last time, the bottom line is he didn't show the same level of form behind Rev de Sibila as he has shown over 2.5, particularly at the entry in the past. So he's top rated with a bit of a question mark on the basis of that. I watched a preview last night, the official Betfair preview, and I thought I was going to come here with some interesting views because everybody said Rev de Sibila was the lay of the week, heavy ground specialist, and when people were asked about Get Me Out of Here's chance of winning, they all looked as if they'd never heard of the horse. So I thought, well, I'm going to be saying some interesting things here, but it seems that there's some agreement on the panel. Rev de Sibila, as has been pointed out, very good horse in good ground as a novice. That Neptune he finished second in was a fabulous contest. Look who was in behind. Ascot Gold Cup winner in behind. Champion Chase winner in behind. Gold Cup Gold Cup second in behind. Best Neptune ever run. And he traded at 1.3 in the run on good ground. He went on to win at Punchestown on good ground afterwards. There is, as Mark said, a slight question mark in that Connections know that he's had leg problems in the past, and they're worried that if it turned out really fast, he might not let himself down. But he handles the ground fine. He'd be my outstanding favourite in this race. Of the others, I think Get Me Out of Here is interesting. He wasn't on my radar at the start of the season, but Paul Jones, who writes the Festival Trends Guide, was very sweet with him when I spoke to him in October, based simply on his Cheltenham record. He's bred to stay 3 miles. His form looks dreadful this season, apart from his first time out win, but he's much, much better than that. He's been saved up for March. If he runs here, he's got decent each way claims. And of the others, I can't have Bulk Warrior. I mean, it would need to pour all the way through the day for Bulk Warrior to get involved.
It's only because his name says that. That's
but it's true, but unfortunately it seems to have panned out that way with him as well. Is there anything... I wouldn't worry about class too much in the race. Lonnie was kind enough not to slag off Smart Place, but I know she was itching to. He inherited... I was keen on him last year at a massive price anti-post, and it was a huge price after he won at Ascot. But all he did was he picked off non-stayers in the latter stages. He finished third last year. I think he was a bit better than the form behind Rev de Sibila at Ascot because Dickie Johnson caught them on the hop. I agree entirely with Lonnie that Dickie Johnson is absolutely made for Rev. 14 years ago he won the Stayers Hurdle on Amazon, and they're remarkably similar horses, all guts. They'll keep going all day, so he'll do for me.
Rev de Sibila, Tony?
Yeah, he outstayed Oscar Whiskey. I don't think for a minute Oscar Whiskey doesn't stay 3 mile. He just got outstayed, basically, and I can't see no reason why he'll turn that round. I think Rev de Sibila will be better on the forecast ground anyway, to be honest with you. Peddler's Cross, going back to Rev de Sibila, he's a good favourite. Peddler's Cross, that jumpers bumpers race, basically clearing the cobwebs for me, really, to be honest, but there's no evidence he stays 3 mile. And with Nick, to be honest, I was really pleased because Rory was telling me about last night, what they were saying about Get Me Out of Here, and I did a bit of studying last night, and I was pleased to hear Nick give Get Me Out of Here. He's bred to stay the 3 mile, he's by accordion, he's related to Monty's Pass, Grand National winner, Harbour Pilot, as Nick said. He's only a 9-year-old as well. 2010, second of 18 in the Stayers Hurdle, in the Supreme Novices. 2011, second of 26 in the County Hurdle, and last year, second of 28 in the Coral Cup. I'll say my phrase again, forget his form earlier on the year. Trained for March, loves Cheltenham. I think 10-1's a cracking each way bet.
Wrap up the World Hurdle for us, Ben?
Rev de Sibila. I would agree with everything that's been said about him. I think he's adaptable with the ground. I think he's going to keep finding when they ask him. Richard Johnson, perfect jockey for him. They just seem to have gone at a house on fire. They match up perfectly. Form is in the book. He has good Cheltenham form. His grade 1 hurdle form is 3rd, 6th, 1st, 2nd, 1st, 1st. He is a grade 1 hurdler. Oscar Whiskey, I think he stays, but does not stay as well as others. I think Rev de Sibila will just keep outstaying him. Only other bit I have to add is Oscar Adara. The owner writes from my website. He emailed me last night saying that he goes for this race. I think he will stay. Personally, I think he will stay. It's in his pedigree, but I don't think he's going to win. Other bit of inside information on that is McCoy seemingly said that ignore the run at Foslas. He just simply did not go through the deep Foslas ground. So Oscar Adara won't win the World Hurdle, but he could run a big race and he's worth keeping an eye on.
Thanks, Ben. Moving on to Friday, the big day, Gold Cup Day, and the Albert Bartlett, then followed by the Gold Cup. But first of all, the Albert Bartlett. So there's been 3 winning favourites in the 8 renewals. There's only been 8 runnings of this race. Favourite this year, Ballycasey. Mark, how do you rate his chances?
Yeah, there's been great talk from Willie's Yard about this horse. I've read his stable tour, and different people have told me, and I've heard that there's much more to come from this horse. He's only won 2 average hurdles, really. He's won them in very, very convincing fashion, and you can't take that away from him. And Willie says he will improve for the better grounds that he hopes to get at Cheltenham. At Fisher's Cross, if the ground was to come up anyway on the soft side, he's bang there with a chance, but I'd have to have me doubts a little bit. Utopia, the boards, I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm still only in my second year of learning French, so unfortunately I'm not that fluent yet. But
you'll not need it with this one.
But no, he's Nicky talked very well about him. I've heard him speak well. I think there's one down 25 to 1 there I see on the board. One called Lebec, and that's Rebecca Curtis. I think that horse has got a good chance. Was second to Takin de Soy in the Neptune trial. It was an absolute bog on the day of it. And he's a half-brother to Taco Ferro. I think he has a good chance. He was good at Kempton on his debut. I think he's got a decent each-way chance at a big price if he goes for the race. Other than that, Road to Riches. And same now, I'm not sure what's happening with... I think Road to Riches maybe has a good chance as well, but probably my main one there would be each way on Lebec, just because I think he will appreciate the better ground, and Taco Ferro could have been better before his injury, and maybe a pinch each way at Road to Riches, second or third.
Okay, so Nick, the panel very keen on Rep to Savola, and at Fisher's Cross beat Rep to Savola at Cheltenham. Is that a pointer to at Fisher's Cross over this trip?
Well, he beat the new one at Cheltenham, which is obviously a great run. But if I'm going to cut to the chase and get to my tip here, it's Our Vinny at 14 to 1, which I think is a fantastic each way price. Charles Burns has got a great record in this race. He's won it with Weapons Amnesty. He's had 2 places. He brought Our Vinny over early for the October meeting at Cheltenham, ran a really good race, finished second according to Trev, probably should have won. He's the only horse this season to have beaten Rule the World, beat him in the Grade 3 hurdle at Cork. He finished third behind Pont Alexandra last time at Leopardstown in the Grade 2, had no chance. He was coming down and trip, and he had to give Pont Alexandra away, which probably was trying the impossible, really. He's back over 3 miles here, which is really his bred to stay. His dam is a full sister to Comply or Die, the Grand National winner, so if you're into your breeding, then he's perfect for this race. He's shown a good level of ability, 2 graded wins this season. He's a cracking each way bet at 14 to 1, Our Vinny.
Excellent, thank you. The Albert Bartlett, Tommy?
I think a Fisher's Cross is definitely a horse you got to consider. He obviously likes Cheltenham, and he showed a good performance last time. You know what I mean? Like Road to Recovery, he's not a bad sort of a horse as well. He should have a bit of a squeak in it really himself. But you know, again, you have Nigel there, African Gold. That's not a bad sort neither. So you know what I mean? I think it's going to be a quite tough little race to pick out a winner out of the whole lot of it. You know, at Fisher's Cross probably be the one, you know, to have a good old chance out of it really.
Catches your eye on this one, Steve.
I'll be on the Road to Recovery probably on the Saturday, but
I think you'll be on the Wednesday, Steve.
Yeah, probably. I think of the races we're covering, I think this is the toughest, to be honest. I really think it is a tough one. Willie Mullins has certainly got it by the conkers. I think Inish Island's got form tied in with that Fisher's Cross. I think he's probably overpriced, but I like a horse I do like is African Gold of Nigel Tristan Davis. I don't think he's quite good enough for this. I think he'll run in one of the handicaps, and I think he'll run quite well. But at this stage, Inish Island, I would say, is overpriced at 16s.
A couple of us went down to Nigel's open day, and he confirmed that African Gold for the Albert Bartlett rather than the handicap.
I'm just a bit concerned that he might have been on the fags like the rest of them and got this lung infection.
Well, I hope so. It's one of our biggest liabilities for the whole festival.
He's the best looking horse in Nigel's yard.
Yeah, we've laid it for the Albert Bartlett, we've laid it to the connections. It'd probably be the second or third biggest liability we've got in the book, anti-post. When it comes to the Albert Bartlett, there's 28 races on the week. It's impossible to have an opinion on all of them. I've got absolutely no strong opinion on anything in this race. So much so that if you've got a strong fancy, I'll stick an extra point on every horse on the board. Because if you can find the winner of this, you deserve a point clicker. So good luck to you, and you know where we are when we finish.
Make sure you put a 1 in front of everything, so that makes...
You can tell how stupid he is. He's put a 9 in front of everything. Good luck with this one.
Generous offer, thanks, Luke. It is a very difficult race. Lornie, anything stand out for you?
I'm just asking the experts here, obviously the experts on lady trainers, 2 to my left. Has AP actually decided or declared yet what he's going to ride?
I'd have thought it's almost certain to be at Fisher's Cross.
Well, I would have thought. Therefore, that for me says it all, because obviously he's got the pick on most horses in the race anyway. So I would have thought at Fisher's Cross would be the horse to back. Rebecca Curtis, Training Festival winner, another very good lady trainer.
She can dream big.
She can indeed, which always helps. Obviously, you can never ignore a Mullins horse with Valley Casey. Is very classy. Acts on better ground, and Up and Trip I think will probably help him. Coney Gree seems to be a good sort of doer stayer, but never quite with the class. He's only seemed to pulled it out when it's been very heavy ground. So I think probably you wouldn't really want to go for him. And African Gold, I think, as you say, Nigel's very sweet on him, so Sam. We've just got to hope that again he hasn't been puffing on the fags, don't we?
We're all taken by African Gold on Media Day, but I think he probably has to improve. Is he capable of that improvement, Catherine?
I think he is. I hadn't really sort of got a look at him up close before the Media Day, and listening to Nigel's comments, and Nigel knows a good horse. He basically has him in the same vein as Imperial Commander. He looked that way to me. He's a big, strong horse. I could see, before I went into the Media Day, I was like, I don't really know about African Gold, but gone back through his form after seeing him, I think he's got a live chance in this. At Fisher's Cross, what worries me is his jump. I mean, the stable have been very quick to say about his jumping has been improved because he's jumping out of deeper ground this season, so he's not having to jump at speed. He's not, we may well open the festival on soft, but he's not going to get the kind of ground that he's been running on all season. The one horse for me in the Albert Bartlett that I've been sweet on since November is Coney Gree. Obviously, he won the Grade 2 at the Open meeting and then at the December meeting as well. I know he was beaten behind at Fisher's Cross and the new one on Trials Day, but that was over like 2 mile 4. One thing about Coney Gree, if you look back to his December run in Cheltenham, the relentless gallop he maintained on deep ground was quite unbelievable. So the 2 for me in the Albert Bartlett would be Coney Gree and African Gold.
Rory.
Catherine keeps saying she must be cracked, but she hasn't said it there, but she is. Coney Gree's a lovely horse, and connections have always said, oh, he's much better than Carruthers. He's a half-brother to Carruthers. He is Carruthers. He could be a clone rather than a half-brother. At the same stage, they thought Carruthers would go and win a Gold Cup and win a Grand National. Now that he's been and done it, and they've got a new horse coming along, they want to think that he could be even better. But that's just wishful thinking. He's a lovely horse, but when he won twice at the track, which helped enormously, those were in conditions that suited front runners, and he was able to grind them into the ground. You can't really do that in Albert Bartlett. You can't grind a 25-runner field into the ground from the front, especially in ground that probably won't be heavy come Friday. And he's the first off my list, much as I like him, and I think he will do well in time. I don't think he's a winner of this race. And for all it was a trip short of his best last time out, exactly the same comments apply to at Fisher's Cross. He's got no chance whatsoever of turning that form around. And Fisher's Cross wins this race, pure and simple.
Tony, at Fisher's Cross?
Yeah, for me, yeah. Yeah, really. I was going to get that.
Don't ruin it.
I wasn't ready for that. Two of the big prizes I've looked at. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to say Coney Gree. It was disappointing at Cheltenham in January, but I don't think, to be honest, that race, I looked at it last night, and I don't think it went quick enough early on for him. It looks like he wants to test his stamina, and I think the 3 mile will suit, to be honest. Another one that hasn't been mentioned, I don't think, Cloudy Copper. He won at Exeter, beat Hold On Julio at Kempton. I think he stays well. I think he's a good each way at 14 to 1. But in answer to your question, Jonathan, Fisher's Cross for me.
Thank you. Ben, tricky race.
I would agree with Fisher's Cross, but to just go for a bit of an outsider, give a bit of differentiation to the panel, I'm going to go for Busty Brown, who I think he was up there.
That's one of your DVDs, eh? That's a DVD you brought with you. Right.
Do you wonder why they keep asking you last? Oh, it was short time, Ben. What's your opinion?
Busty Brown, forget about me, I say Busty Brown, live outsider. He looks like he's a robust dinosaur. He looks like he's got class. He's going to relish the hill. I don't think he'll be inconvenienced by drying grounds. This is a race that suits future staying chasers. Busty Brown is a future staying chaser. I think he'll go big, go well at a big price. 25 to 1, bigger, I think he's up there. 20 to 1, probably get bigger elsewhere. Busty Brown each way, potential outsider to maybe take down Fisher's Cross.
So on to the blue ribbon of jump racing, the Cheltenham Gold Cup on Friday, and it was absolutely fascinating race. Kind of lots of arguments for all the contenders as per usual, and there's lots of positive reasons why pretty much most of the field could win, but also a few question marks as well. What do you make of it, Nick?
Well, I'm going to give my horse, so I think is a big prize who can win it. I think we all know the form fairly well of the leading contenders, so we don't need to regurgitate it too much. But the one I do fancy is Captain Chris. He's going to divide opinion because a lot of people say he can't go left-handed.
Have you been drinking, Nick?
I think I've been on Nigel's fags as well. No, everyone.
The Emma Lavelle tip to it.
Everyone will tell you that this horse can't go left-handed, but he's actually won twice at Cheltenham, and he's won an Arkle. He beat Finian's Rainbow, the following season's champion chase winner. So for a horse who hates going that way round, he hasn't half done badly, or not so badly. Sorry. I think last season he just wasn't at his best. Full stop. I just don't think at any stage of the campaign he was anywhere close, especially after he unseated his rider at Exeter. But even then, his best run of the season came in the Ryanair when he was running on fourth over 2 mile 5. His form this season's been absolutely superb. He all but won the King George on Boxing Day. Great ride from Dickie Johnson, almost got there. I think Long Run was probably just idling in the closing stages, made it look a little bit closer than it was, but I think on this is completely the wrong ground for Captain Chris. Don't think he really relishes heavy ground at all. And I think he would have beaten Q Card last time out had he not made that howler at the second last. That's a bit of a concern, but he's normally very safe. And yeah, I mean, I expect the majority of the panel to say, well, he can't go left-handed, but I think it's dangerous to say that an Arkle winner is that ineffective, that he can't go that way. I think if Richard Johnson uses his brain, and I think he's still got one, he'll just line him up on the inside, and he'll keep horses on his outside, and then I think he'll be able to point the horse in a fairly straight direction. I just get the feeling from connections from Philip Hobbs and listening to Richard Johnson this season, they think they've got this horse back to its absolute best. Whether that's good enough or not still remains to be seen, but I think 16 to 1 is a decent price.
Sir Deschamps, Willie Mullins, been a fairly short price since winning the Dewson last year. How do you rate his chances, Mark?
I love this horse. I felt he would stay further, obviously, but afterwards I haven't been as impressed with him at all. When he was beaten, Fleming Punchestown, he was, I don't know what it was, he just didn't show the same sparkle. And also I felt in the Lexus, it didn't pan out as planned. But he had his chance, I think, and Tidal Bay and First Lieutenant, and they were better than him on the day. And it kills me to say it because I have a big affection for the horse, but I think he hasn't shown the sparkle of previous years or the promise that he's lived up to he's promised before. He beat a below par and sick Fleming Star in the Hennessy last time out, and taking into account that Fleming Star wasn't well, it bears questions on whether that was impressive at all. Silvianaco Conti, I think it's incredible that Paul Nicholls and the team have said that this horse can't get up the hill, and suddenly after winning on a couple of flat tracks he's able to go and be a Gold Cup contender. I find it remarkable. But long run, I think bit forgotten. I think he's definitely has a great chance.
Yes,
Why,
definitely. Long run camp, yes,
yeah.
definitely.
Thanks, Bobby.
It's alright, Mark.
Great job on your side. Anyway, I think long run, great chance. It's wide open. If Bobsworth could produce what he did in the Hennessy, it's going to be very tight. But I think a Nicky Henderson 1-2 with long run leading the way.
Tommy, you write work on one of the contenders. In fact, I would say he's one of the leading contenders, talking about the Giant Bolster. So you're in a unique position to give us some information.
First of all, I'm going to put the old hammer down, and I think it'll be David Bridgewater first and Nicky Henderson second and third. Look, we have so much belief in this Giant Bolster, it's unbelievable. Look, he wouldn't be the price if he was trained by Paul Nicholls or Nicky Henderson. He wouldn't be this price at all whatsoever. Like, this horse finished second in the Gold Cup last year. He probably, only for Mackay riding synchronised and winning on him, he'd be a Gold Cup winner. We'd be all sitting down here thinking about last year's Gold Cup winner, what we're going to do with him. He ran a cracker in the Betfred up in Haydock. Absolutely ran a blinder, needed to run badly. The King George was never the target at all. The Peterborough was, but the Peterborough was called off so many times, and so we had to go for the King George. And he's a funny, canny little horse. He has just that little bit of an attitude on him. Not a major one, but he has that little bit of attitude. When he doesn't want to do it, he won't do it. It's simple as. And obviously, then he finished second behind Svina Conti in Newbury last time. Again, ran a blinder. And by the way, in the Betfair and in Newbury, he ran on the ground that he doesn't like at all whatsoever. Now, hopefully, we get a bit of drier ground, which is going to be an absolute question mark. But the one thing that this horse has in his armoury, he loves Cheltenham. He has loved Cheltenham from day one. He's always been there. Personally, myself, I'm obviously going to say it because I have very soft feelings for the horse. I can see him doing one better. I'm a big believer as novices getting beaten in the year before, coming back and producing the goods on the next day. You know, Bobsworth, cracking horse obviously, with winning the Hennessy was a big performance, but he has the off-piece class big time, from having first run over fences in the Hennessy to coming against the big boys, and these are the big boys now. Cher Deschamps, I agree with Mark. I haven't been impressed with him. Have not been impressed with him whatsoever. He makes a lot of mistakes. He finishes races well at the end, but around there in Cheltenham, in a big race like that, you can't make mistakes. Full stop. You cannot make mistakes. One mistake and you go back to the line, you struggle to get back up to the front. Long run, I think he's the one to beat. Long run is definitely. He's been there. He's bought the t-shirts. He knows what the situation is. He's a tough horse, honest horse. I think if the Giant Bolster is going to win the Gold Cup, I think that's the horse he has to pass. And then you have Captain Chris. I agree. I see him for the first time in Ascot. He's a cracking looking horse. I don't think Cheltenham suits him whatsoever. Cape Tribulation, great horse, but I don't think he's good enough. And trying to walk obviously wouldn't get the trip, but to me, I'm a bit. We got a big believer in the Giant Bolster, and all I can tell you at the moment, he's absolutely flying. And I know every trainer would say it, and every lad at home, but I cannot see this horse being out the first four this year again. I hope to God he can actually win it, but I can see him not being out the first 4 anyway, that's for sure. And it'd be crazy if you don't, you know what I mean, if you don't have a little few pound on him.
Steve, very competitive. Have you managed to narrow it down at all?
Bobsworth's got the best form for me. What worries me, he's been off since the Hennessy in November and just one run for this season. A little bit of a worry for the favourite. Silvio Narco Conti, like these guys have said, it's not run around Cheltenham. He's got very solid form, but again, the issue is there. Long run can't win, doesn't jump well enough for me. The only time he's ever jumped well enough was when he won the Gold Cup here a couple of years ago. He hasn't repeated that since. I know he's won the King George twice, but...
but he's a Gold Cup winner as well, though. You can't take this away.
It's the only ever time he's jumped well enough. He's won the King George. I mean, to be fair...
Get in there, Mark. Get him. Go on. Get him. Get him while he's down. Go on. Get him.
To be fair, Kempton's easier to jump than Katie Price, isn't it? So... it's a totally different test. Long run cannot possibly win. I'll be going round that car park naked if it does win. The Giant Bolster, I'm a big fan of the Giant Bolster, but they've got the wrong Tom on board. Scudamore, I cannot believe they've got my best mate. My best mate should be on. I'm going to get onto this Simon Hunt and tell him, look, Scudamore's yesterday's man. This is the man. The Giant Bolster will run well. He is a Cheltenham horse, like Tom says. And he will run well. I'm not sure he's a Gold Cup winner. The horse that is a Gold Cup winner is Sir de Champ. He's won twice at the festival. He's won 2 different races at the festival, as has Bobsworth. Interesting fact here, you probably won't agree, but it is an interesting fact. The last horse to win 3 different races at the Cheltenham Festival was Flying Bolt about 1,000,001 years ago. So that's a bit of a statistic that's got to be broken, but Sir de Champ comes alive at the festival. Like I say, in Ireland, they tootle round in heavy ground, and the form is nothing. But this horse...
Sorry, how many wonders were there on the shoes?
Yes, no. I say the form is nothing. You've got to look for the horses that are suited to a fast pace on decentish ground. Oh. Sir de Champ.
They do too.
Get involved, 4-1. And also, get involved... 16-1 the Giant Bolster, but if my mate was on it, it would be his same team.
What would be Star Sport's biggest loser in the Gold Cup, Luke?
It's not been a huge anti-post race for us because I think there's so many fancied in there. You can make an argument for 5 or 6. In years gone by, we've had Corso Denman argument. We've just laid plenty out of one side of that, the logical one in the main race. They'll just shorten up simply because Henderson will be on a roll. So if you don't get stuck into it now, keep an eye on the Tuesday because it will automatically shorten up due to the Henderson bandwagon gathering pace.
Ben, do you have a strong fancy in this?
Yeah, Sir de Champ very much. Can't have Bobsworth. Fact is, we do not know if he can hack it out with handicaps in the second season. Granted, he won the Hennessy, probably one of the best handicaps seasons, but we do not know, unlike his opponents, who have all been tried and tested in graded company in their second season. We don't know if Bosworth can do that. Do I want to take 3-1 or less about him? No, I don't. Is he 3-1? Yeah, I don't want to take that. Sir de Champs all the way. I saw him when he was in the juicing last year. Halfway through, I was like, that he wins the Gold Cup. Jumped impeccably. I was a bit of a wobble on him earlier this season. I thought he's maybe not as good as I thought he was, but he has, if you look at his figures, he has been gradually progressing. For me, Sir de Champs all the way. I'm with Nick, Captain Chris. I can't get him out of my figures. He just keeps appearing there. 6 of his 8.
In a lorry.
6 of his 8. 6 of his 8 victories have been on good ground. So if you can get good ground, then Captain Chris has to be in the shake-up for me. The slight worry he's not won over 3 miles. But he's in there. Long run, bit of a conundrum for me at the minute. His long run form, December, January, February, 1st, 2nd, then 4 victories. Out with December, January, February, 3rd, 1st, 3rd, 3rd, 2nd, 2nd. So the only way I see Long Run winning is if it's raining and it's heavy soft ground and he will outslog them up the hill. The only other one that's on my radar right now is First Lieutenant. Tried and tested prep run, runs until Christmas, backs off, comes back for Festival Tilt, just failed last year. His record after a break of 60 days or more, first, second, fourth, first. Query with him is he hasn't won for, I think it's 8 runs, and he hasn't won over 3 miles, but he's only just not won over 3 miles, so 3 for me would be, not Sylviani Connick, actually, would be Sir Deschamps, First Lieutenant, Captain Chris. If it's heavy ground, Long Run, it won't be out the first 3.
Do you want any more goes?
Yeah. what's going to come out?
What's going to come out will be the giant bolsters.
Tony, thank you, Jonathan. I've just got a little story from last year for you you may be interested in, especially Tom. Do you know Brian Hughes? Tommy?
Yeah.
I was on I was at a Sedgefield racecourse preview panel last year, and they were discussing the Gold Cup, and they had Keith Reevely on, James Reevely, and Brian Hughes on, and Darren Owen, the commentator, was comparing that night, and they went round everyone and said, who would you like to ride in the Gold Cup? And they finally got to Brian, who thought, and he said, Darren Owen said, come on Brian, which horse would you love to be riding in the Gold Cup? Come on, because there was obviously last year, there was Corto still in it, there was Long Run, synchronised, and Brian thought long and hard and he said, any of the fuckers, I'm at Exham. Good on him, Brian. And he didn't ride a winner at Exham that day either. In the Gold Cup, we've got the lack of run for Bobsworth is a little bit of a worry for me. I wouldn't want to be steaming into a 3-to-1 shot. He's run just once since winning at the festival last year. But he's saying that, he's a class act. He's never lost at Cheltenham. He's never lost going left-handed, and he's won one of the better Hennessy's in recent years, to be honest, hasn't he? That was a great Hennessy. Long Run, he's consistent. I think his form beating Captain Chris is outstanding. I'm not a big fan of cheek pieces. I don't think horses that wear cheek pieces don't win Gold Cups, basically. But you look, the thing is with Long Run, he looks a thorough stayer these days. I don't know whether he did too much too early in his younger days. Oh God, Sylvie Niaco Conti. Did I get it right? The Nichols horse. I think he deserves to be where he is in the betting. He's done nothing wrong. Fantastic form this year. Charlie Hall, Betfair Chase, Denman Chase. He's done nothing wrong. But I'm with Steve. Sedation has run well in defeat. He's crying out for better ground, this horse. He made one mistake in the Lexus, if you remember. Third fence going into the final circuit, and he didn't look happy after that. He never looked happy. Davy Russell couldn't get him into a good rhythm. He got into a couple of the bottom of them. Extra stride there, brushed through the top here. That horse must have some ability to still finish a quarter length beaten. He must have some outstanding ability, that horse. Better ground, better horse. Outsiders, if in fact don't be afraid of backing an outsider. This is obviously what we've been looking at today and discussing it on the train. 2005, placed. These are all placed horses, by the way. 2005, 25-1, take a stand, take the stand. 2006, 16-1, Hedge Hunter. 40-1, Turpin Green, 2007. 2008, 25-1, Neptune Collonge. 2010, 50-1, Mon Moon was third. And last year, the Giant Bolster. So if you fancy an outsider, you know, get it on each way. Because they do, you know, turn the figures around. But Sedation, trained for March, loves Cheltenham.
Rory, winner of the 2013 Cheltenham Gold Cup, please.
Just like that.
I've been losing the courage of my convictions recently, but I've been held slightly by the panel tonight. I maintained when he won the Jewson last season that Sir Deschamps would be vulnerable all through the year, but become good at this time because he's a good ground horse. in essence, jumps better out of good ground. His jumping was very good in the Juicing last year. In heavy ground, doesn't look quite so good. I've lost a bit of confidence in him, I have to say. But in fairness, because I maintained in the first place that he would bounce back at this stage, I've got a row in with him. I must say that the notion that he beat a 6th Lemon Star last time out is just a complete concoction of the runner-ups' connections. They were desperately looking for somewhere to hide afterwards, and this lung infection doesn't exist with Lemon Star. Just a poor ride in the day. Bobsworth, I would like if he had a prep run. The lack of a prep run has to be a worry with Gold Cup candidates. There's no way Nicky Henderson would have wanted him to go into this race with just the one run this season, and that's off-putting for all. He's the top-rated horse in the race and has better to come as well. Paul Nicholls has said for 2 years, Silviniaco Conti is not a Cheltenham horse. He's not a Cheltenham horse. All of a sudden this season, after he won the Betfair Chase, he's a Cheltenham horse through and through. I have no idea where he gets that notion from, and it's not true. He's a really likeable horse. 3 miles on a flat track anywhere in the country, he would take an awful lot of beating, but I don't see him as a 3 1/4 mile horse at Cheltenham at all. That's all.
Catherine, I'm not sure what your opinion is in terms of who's going to win the race, but I know you've got quite a strong opinion in who won't win the race.
Yeah, same as what Rory said there. I just cannot see nothing. I'm not crabbing Silviniaco Conti because on a flat track he's a fantastic horse, and I know I've said many times on obviously broadcasts I've done recently. If the Gold Cup was being run at Aintree, I'd be falling over myself to back Silviniaco Conti. But the fact he's run at Cheltenham, it's quite strange. Last year he wasn't going to go to the RSA because he didn't like Cheltenham, and now all of a sudden, Cheltenham's no problem to him. I just can't. I honestly cannot see him. I think his class will take him a long way, but I can't see him even being placed. I would love First Lieutenant to run in the Gold Cup. Don't think he will. The reason for that is he absolutely loves Cheltenham. He's a Neptune winner. He came second in the RSA last year. Favours the spring ground as well, if we're going to get any, that is. Bobsworth, again, what these guys have said, the layoff is really starting to bother me. All kinds of stories are coming out of Seven Barrows. To be honest, there's a fair few fables that come out of there. You don't really know what to believe. I firmly believe that there's been a grand plan at work with Sir Deschamps. I wouldn't have believed that watching his first race behind Fleming Star at the start of the season. We did not see the kind of electric slick jumping that we did in the Juice, and what I think, who was it, Ben or Tony just said there, that for him to blunder all the way around Leopardstown and still finish that close to Principles in the Lexus, that horse has got some engine. I watched the Juicing again the other night. I'm convinced Sir Deschamps is the Gold Cup winner. I cannot believe you two, Nick and Ben, you think I'm mad for putting up Hurricane Fly and you talk about Captain Chris. That is just absolute madness.
It's late in the day.
For me, the first 3 home in the Gold Cup are going to be Sir Deschamps, Long Run and the Giant Bolster.
Morning.
Well, I look at this from a slightly different perspective. I'm not the form or the betting person here, I'm a horse person. And so I'd like to know on the panel, just put your hands up if you've ever ridden a horse. Okay, not talking about donkeys at the seaside, talking actually ridden a horse, come on.
I'm not able to ride them.
All late night ones.
Yeah, no. Now, gents, let's keep it clean, come on. So what we're looking at here is not so many people have actually ridden horses, and I think that makes a difference to the views certainly that I take from it. So I'm a long run fan. So if people start, and in fact people have not tonight knocked Sam Willie Cohen, and it's nice to hear because I'm actually fed up of hearing people knock him because he does a very good job. How many people are a length and a half down on Dickie Johnson in the King George and actually go and win by a length? The very few professional jockeys do that, but he still did it. I think on that horse he's the right man, so I don't think we should knock him. But I think personally Long Run is the horse. He's got so much form. It stacks up time after time. When he runs a bad race, he's 3rd in the Gold Cup. He's 2nd in the King George. Otherwise, he wins. How can you knock that time after time? He's got very good form in top-class races. His form stacks up time after time. I can't see why we can't go for him personally. Silvinaco Conti, Paul Nicholls was so excited after the Betfair. He was glowing. You haven't seen him like that for a while. Yes, he was probably very pleased because he beat Lock Run, but he just said, this is my Cheltenham horse. He was very, very excited. And I think he knows, obviously, what it takes to get a horse there in the right shape and the right horse. So I think you can't ignore his enthusiasm. Can you really doubt Nicky Henderson when it comes to Bobsworth? We're not doubting the horse, are we? Surely we're doubting that the trainer can bring him there right.
Everyone gets so worried about horses being laid off for such a long time. I'm very much of the opinion that it's not as a problem as it used to be. I think you read in the paper the other day him saying about Grandouille. He went for a swim this morning. He spent the afternoon in the spa and then had a massage in the afternoon. I had to read back if he was talking about his wife, Grandouille. So,
I think he's been transferred to Thailand.
Yeah, so for the advances, and he's got 20, 30 championship horses to work them with at home.
Yeah.
So he doesn't need race course scouts to run against other horses. He's got better horses than he'd run against at home anyway.
So he's doing the best thing for the horse, which obviously at the moment is not to work it against other champion horses.
Exactly. So what I'm saying is, it's not a
Are
problem.
we agreeing or disagreeing? I can't quite work this out.
We're agreeing, because what I'm saying is, if you've got someone like Henderson who's got a plethora of good horses at home and every bit of kit you need or could have in the world, then a layoff is not such a bigger problem as a much smaller yard that hasn't got all of that gear at their disposal.
Totally agree. And it's all the knowledge and that's the depth of knowledge that he's got there. As you said, he actually listens to the lads in the yard that come and say things. That's a major advantage. But Tommy will know only too well. There aren't many trainers who even listen to the lads.
I agree. And I totally agree, Jelani. Like, and thing is, you've got to listen to these people who are riding these horses. You know, you're paying them to do a job.
If they ride them every day, they're going to notice the nuances, the differences, aren't they? That's what it is important. And they've got good lads there.
Exactly. And the thing is, you know what I mean? You know, Nicky Henderson is he is the best trainer in the Cheltenham Festival.
Yeah.
The amount of winners he has year on year, you know what I mean? That horse is going to be spot on, like, you know what I mean? And yeah, but you know what I mean? Like it's going to be, you know, well, Lorne, all horses. Doesn't matter if they're Gold Cup horses to sellers. You've got to get these horses right on the day to win that race.
And he trains his horses for March.
Yeah.
He trains his horses for Cheltenham.
Yeah.
He doesn't worry that he knows that they're not that fit in November time. He's not that worried because Cheltenham is what he's looking for.
That's it, yeah.
One more point about Sam Whaley-Cohen is the fact that if you do back him, you know that he's going to ride him, so don't back him and then moan about him afterwards.
Quite agree. Good point. Good point.
You know exactly what you're going to get. So you do it in the full knowledge that he's going to be riding. Don't moan about him afterwards. He's very good. He's not going to beat Ruby because he doesn't ride every day, but he's a bloody good amateur.
And don't moan about Tommy Phelan either. Otherwise, there'll be big trouble.
Just a point about Nicky Henderson. Again, I don't doubt that there's no one better at getting a horse ready for Cheltenham, but he doesn't have a great record with those horses he can't get a prep into. When CU Then was at his peak, and that was at the start of Nicky's domination of Cheltenham, they called him CU When because he was seen so rarely, but he always had a prep race for the champion hurdle because it's impossible even for the best trainers to get a horse absolutely spot on for Cheltenham without some sort of prep.
But he was a spring horse, wasn't he? He was a spring horse, whereas, I mean, Bobsworth, he's won a Hennessy. You can't knock that, can you?
No, you can't knock Bobsworth's form. You just knock the concept that getting a horse ready for a Gold Cup with no run since November is almost impossible to do. Nicky Henderson is the best person in the country to do it, but that still puts him at a disadvantage.
It's a leap of faith, I see what you're saying.
What puts... Where is your...
He gets well fresh.
I need to move on.
He gets well fresh, surely.
Well, plenty of Gold Cup horses have gone well fresh in the past, but very, very few have won a Gold Cup without a run within the last 60-odd days.
We must move on. We're going to try and unearth some winners in the handicaps for you now. An area that is not often explored or necessarily explored by Cheltenham Preview Evenings. And Catherine's going to lead on the handicaps.
Could I just say one thing before Catherine, who is hugely knowledgeable on the handicaps? Please don't ask me anything about the handicaps because I have no idea at all. But the Fox Hunters, any info, come and ask me, okay? See you later.
Catherine.
I'm having a sleep now.
Okay, I won't keep you too long, but I have thought, if you remember earlier in the evening, Luke asked me what I was going to do if Hurricane Fly lost the champion hurdle. I'll tell you what I'm going to do if Hurricane Fly does win the champion hurdle, which he will. I'm going to first of all shave Nick's sideburns off, and then I'm going to
I'll enjoy that.
and then I'm going to go to Luke's box and I'm going to drink all his champagne. Okay?
That's not what I thought you were going to say for a minute.
But here's what I'll do: if by some act of God Hurricane Fly gets beaten in the champion hurdle, I'm going to be working out the media centre all 4 days.
Naked.
I will sit in the media centre in only my underwear on a Wednesday. Okay, now not many people get to see my underwear. I have to be backwards and forwards from the parade rings to the media centre the whole day. I will do that in my underwear.
It's like compo at last of the summer wine.
And on to the handicaps. Okay.
No one's listening now.
I won't keep you very long. Basically, Armick in the JLT, third in the race last year. Yeah. Luke, 8-1, is that right?
Which one, Armick?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about 7 or 8, so you're not far off.
Donald says that's his best bet in a handicap.
Yeah.
Armick.
Yeah. Yep, Will, sorry.
No, sorry, I agree with Armick. Go Armick.
Okay.
Go Will.
Go on, Will. Okay, cross country, Boston's Angel.
Yes.
Yeah. Last race on the Tuesday, they've obviously renamed it now. I think it's Rewards for Racing, not the Cockney. Yeah. Colour Squadron. I don't have to say too much about that. The Coral Cup's a bit of a headache, so haven't really. It's just there's still about 1,000 left in it at this stage, but see what happens. South-Southwest at a big price in the Fred Winter, tennis cap in the Vinceland O'Brien County Hurdle, and even though I'm really keen on Shut the Front Door in the Temps, his stablemate Holywell is a big price to be placed, I think.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Catherine. Just a quick minute, Rory, just 1 or 2 in the handicaps.
The one I particularly like, who hasn't had much of a mention so far, is in that Rewards for Racing. Obviously, I agree with Armick again. He's a really obvious one. He's going to be a short price favourite for that, I think, in the end. Although obviously I do quite like Sarah Launch in that, but I've been warned off that to some degree. The Druid's Nephew in the Rewards for Racing novices handicap chase. His form stacks up tremendously well. No one will back him because he's trained by Andy Turnell, who's very much out of fashion. But it would be a popular winner because Andy's been in hospital recently and hasn't been well. He's just come out in the last couple of days. His form is massively undervalued. It's worked out tremendously well, and he looks a well handicapped horse to me. And Shut the Front Door has been one of my Andy selections. Shut the Front Door for the attempts.
Tony, a minute on the handicaps.
I haven't had a look. To be honest, Jonathan. But I've got. Do you want me to mention Sean? Yeah. Well, I spoke to Sean Quinn this morning. I'm from Bridlington, East Yorkshire. I'm very close to the Quinn Yard. And if you want to take notes here, well, there's only 2 to take notes. Well, Countrywide Flames very well. Needs to improve a lot, obviously, to win the champion hurdle. But they're happy with him. They're more than happy with him. Calculated Risk from John Quinn's Yard. Has to win. He's in it Sandown on Saturday, Sean tells me, and he has to win it on Saturday to make it into the Fred Winter. Has a chance on Saturday if he gets quick ground. Cockney Sparrow, he's entered in the Fred Winter. He's going to miss Cheltenham and will appear either at Aintree or Fairy House. And the 2 in the Triumph Hurdle, Hidden Justice, in good form, working well at home. He goes well fresh, has improved since the last run. That's Hidden Justice. And Kashmir Peak, which is well fancied, I think, for the Triumph Hurdle. He's none the worse for his stumble at Musselburgh in the Scottish Triumph Hurdle. Dry ground will suit, showing good speed at home, which Sean believes actually will Aintree will suit him better than Cheltenham. So
I hope I don't leave anyone out, but thanks to James, the sound guy, thanks to Scott, the video guy, thanks to Helen, the microphone lady, and for security. And on the panel, a couple of special thanks to Catherine Fry for really putting a lot of work into this event. Round of applause, please. we'd like to do something new. Special thanks to Mark, because he's probably been the hardest working. Not only on the form side, but on the entertainment and music side. Meanwhile, I've had it pretty easy, but the rest of the panel haven't. So also a big round of applause for everyone else on the panel.